This recipe has a little technique to it, but it's worth trying at home. It's my stuffed cabbage, and I'm going to stuff it with some rice, beef, loads of herbs, and a bit of Parmesan cheese. It's something that's quite striking, and I love to make this at home when cabbage is in season and they are this beautiful. So I've given myself a bit of a head start. What you need to do is place a whole head of Savoy cabbage into the biggest pot you can find. So I use a stock pot, add some water to it, bring it up to the boil and cook it for about 10 minutes or just enough until the leaves fall off quite easily. What we're going to be doing is taking the leaves off, stuffing it with the meat, reconstructing it so it looks like a cabbage and serving it as is with a beautiful sauce. It is to die for. So once the cabbage has cooked, allow it to cool slightly, just enough so you can handle it and pull the leaves apart. I've also got a clean tea towel here and lots of foil. I like to use foil because we're going to use that to really reconstruct it into that perfect cabbage ball. So I like to use two pieces. So one piece of foil goes horizontal and then the other one vertical. So we've got a cross shape. And we can start with our leaves. Now be very delicate with it. We want to keep them intact. And take the first one off. See, it's quite easy. And we're just again going to start making a cross formation with the core at the base. So when you do actually cook this in the water, you do want to turn your cabbage around and take the core out. And this is going to help with removing the layers of cabbage. So we'll just turn that over and carefully take the second layer off. You'll need about 16 layers of cabbage in total. Second one can go over here, press it down, and you can see why you need to sort of pre-cook your cabbage, because if it was raw, it would just break entirely. Okay, and then for the first layer, we just need one more leaf. Oh, look at that one, just perfect. So it's still warm, but I can handle it quite easily. For the filling, I've got some fatty beef mince here. You could also use some pork mince for this. I've got some rice. This is just some long grain rice and I've washed it 3 times. We'll place that into the bowl and it's raw rice. It's going to cook with the cabbage the second round. Some onion, finely chopped onion, about half an onion. Some garlic, 2 cloves of garlic, and I've minced it. And caraway seeds, so that really nutty flavour I'm after. So a little hint of caraway seeds. To bind it all together, some Parmesan, some grated Parmesan, a couple of handfuls. I'll need to season this, so a good pinch of salt and some freshly cracked pepper. And keeping with that Eastern European feel, lots of herbs, in particular dill. I love dill for this. So dill, a little bit of tarragon and some parsley. So we're not going to use the whole lot because I'm going to keep some of this to make a vinaigrette to go with it. So let's go half of each. And for the tarragon, I'm not going to add the stalk, so just pick all the leaves off. You can leave the stalks on the dill and the parsley because there's loads of flavour in that and it is edible. Okay, that's plenty. We'll scrunch it all up together and we're going to chop that quite finely, just with a sharp knife. And this is my basic filling mixture, but there's no reason why you can't make this 100% vegetarian. And I have done this vegetarian. It works just a treat. Instead of the mince, you could add some ricotta and some dried breadcrumbs, and it works really, really well. Okay, I'm happy with that. Just run your knife through it a few times and then into the bowl. With a spoon, we're just going to mix everything together. Use the back of your spoon to press it down and ensure all that rice has been evenly distributed around that meat. And it does look slightly dry, but fear not. As soon as this cooks in a nice broth, it will be really, really moist. Okay, first layer, use your hands for this. We're going to add about 1/4 of this mixture because we're going to be doing 4 layers. And we'll pop that on and just sprinkle it over. So all over it. It's really thin layers of meat and rice. We don't want it to be overdone at all. And don't forget that rice is going to double in size. So that's the first layer. I'm going to continue with the next layer. We're going to do 4 layers of cabbage, meat, cabbage and meat. got our 4 layers of cabbage and meat, and now for a stock so we can cook our reconstructed cabbage. Into that same large stock pot that I cooked the cabbage originally in, we're going to add some white wine. We want it to bubble that way to just get rid of all of that alcohol, so we're just left with the beautiful perfume of it. To this, while it's bubbling, I will add about 1 litre of stock. You don't need too much stock. We just want a little bath for our cabbage to cook in. I'm using chicken stock for this. And back to the cabbage. So use the tea towel and the foil to start forming it into that ball. So it doesn't have to be perfect at the beginning. You can manipulate it at the end. But the main thing here is to really try and tuck everything together. So we'll bring in this side, squish it, and the other side. And then keep forming that ball. And you can see cabbage, it's not very delicate, so you can push and squeeze it, particularly if it's par-cooked like mine is here. Keep pushing it together. I'm going to bring in those sides, squish it. See how it's just holding its shape? That's what we're after. Covering that. And this side, bring that up. And the other side. And then what I'm going to do now is cover it completely in the foil. And this is where the tea towel comes in handy, because now we can use this to press it together to form that perfect circle. So squish and form that in and unravel it. And if you like, you can flip it over so the core is at the top, and that'll also help form that perfect ball. Right, I am happy with that. So core side down, this goes into the stock and wine mixture. Just carefully place it in there. Fantastic, and it's going to steam and cook away. That's going to take about 1 hour to 1.5 hours. All right, the cabbage is cooked and we can take it out of the liquid. So just use a spider for this, or a big slot spoon. Just fiddle around with it. Out it comes, and then onto a plate. Oh, it is heavy. Now you can see all this liquid in here, and some of the flavours of the cabbage have gone into this broth. This is delicious, and we want to serve this with our cabbage. So we want to turn the heat on, and I'll add some French shallot that are finely chopped. To that I'll add some capers, so a pop of saltiness, and some herbs. Now I've just got that combination again of tarragon, we've got some dill and parsley. I've removed everything from the stalks this time, and then we're just going to roughly chop it. Okay. Now I don't want to add this yet because I don't want them to discolour, so we'll just add that at the very last minute before serving it. And for the big reveal, so we'll take this foil away, just tear it off. Oh, it smells so good. Oh wow, look at all those leaves tucked together. You would never know that inside we've got layers of that meat and rice. Just stunning. So this can be served hot like I'm serving, or you can serve it cold. It's totally up to you. And there's many different ways. I'm serving it just with the broth, but this is also really nice if you want to serve it with a delicious, rich tomatoey sauce. I'm going to slice a wedge out of this. So sharp knife, we'll cut straight through the centre, all the way to the bottom, just like as if it was a cabbage cake. Big chunk per person. And we'll lift that up. Oh, and have a look. Look at those layers of cabbage, meat and rice. It's all very well worth the effort. Pop that into a shallow plate. So we'll serve that with our broth. Pop the herbs in just for a moment. Give it a bit of a swirl. So much flavour in that. And we'll grab a ladle. We'll ladle that straight over our cabbage. Oh, lovely. I like to finish it off with some good quality extra virgin olive oil, drizzled over the top. And that is a wonderful way to celebrate cabbage. Cabbage sometimes has a bit of a bad rap, but if you deconstruct it, reconstruct it, put loads of meat and rice in it, it's absolutely worth it. You will find a new love for cabbage.